Now, I'm an unabashed Ford guy. If I have the option, it's what I race in iRacing. And I've got two sitting in the driveway. So I, for one, do not mind Jesse Stevens coming out here in that GT and pulling out 4 wins in a row now with another dominating performance at Mid-Ohio. But from Central Ohio to the wine country of California, can he keep up the momentum? Will he be able to keep Carl Modoff behind him? Only one way to find out as we hit the track for the penultimate round 9 of the PRL GTE Sports Car Series. And you'll see it all live here, brought to you by the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Young, and with me in the booth is Ossian Puhaka. Behind the scenes, moving into the director slot this week is Joe Peak, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Now, Sonoma is a track that is probably most known as a drag strip for the NHRA and, of course, for the NASCAR Cup cars. But so much more has been here over the years. Let's get more familiar with Sonoma with today's race guide.
Welcome to Sonoma Raceway, one of California's most famous road courses. It resides just north of San Francisco. It's been host to a wide variety of styles of racing, including sports cars, Indy cars, motorcycles, and even drag racing. But in recent decades, it's become most well known for holding one of NASCAR's rare road course weekends. For most tracks, this cornucopia would be a stretch, but considering the array of 5 different layouts to choose from, it's quite easy for the circuit to be adapted to any series needs. Most of the layouts clock in at around 2 to 2.5 miles in length and always feature an impressive amount of elevation change. This means many of the corners present the driver with a blind entry or apex. Some of these have a very distinct visual look, making them instantly recognizable. Corners such as the chute and the final hairpin feature street course-like walls surrounding the track, while the carousel is both picturesque and challenging. With few long straights, passing is often considered very difficult, but it rarely leaves races with a lack of action. Mistakes can be easy to make, offering opportunities for the brave. And it's not just the track itself which is tough. The pit entry's narrow path requires precise driving for those looking to make up time and leapfrog their competitors during stops. With more than 40 years of racing under its belt, Sonoma has become a staple for West Coast race fans. And what could be better than a glass of vino on a sunny hillside while the sound of engines echo around you?
All right, so we are expecting, of course, a challenging race here at Sonoma. And with that, well, let's talk a little bit more about the track, go into some details with Ossian.
Yes, sir, 2.5 miles, that's 4 kilometers there and thereabouts. Lap record with an LMP1 is 121.6, but these guys won't be doing that out here today. No, they will be doing around 125s, 126s. Now, it is a track that has gone by many names in the past. It is a very winding, very fast track with many a sweeper, but it is the one which is gonna provide a real challenge for many of these drivers. We know it doesn't have much in terms of paved runoff, it doesn't have much in terms of mercy. It is a real driver circuit that is surprisingly difficult to learn and even more difficult to master. And I think it's gonna provide some interesting racing out here today, Adam.
Yeah, that's what we're expecting, and these GT cars are very liable to just put on a great show over the course of the next 60 minutes out there. So, as always, today's race is brought to you by SimSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsports fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at simsa.net. Today's race is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The winner of Division 1 here in the PRL GTE Sports Car Series will get a ButtKicker Gamer 2 or a simulation kit. Also, both drivers of the winning team in the Teams Championship will get a free t-shirt. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. All right, so now we're going to talk about the championship, and that Drivers' Championship is still tight. Not as tight as it was last week after Stevens came away with another win, but still, I think it was about 25 points when I looked at it earlier. There it is, yeah, 25 points over top of Carl Modov. Stephen Ash is still back there, probably has not enough room to gain here over the course of the next two races with Michael Ross in fourth and Sean Romig in fifth. So Carl Modov is going to have to pull off the win here for today to give himself still a chance at this championship when we go to Road at Atlanta next week. How's that team's championship looking, Ossian?
Whoa, it's looking very, very tight indeed. Punto CL Racing Blue now has regained the lead with Ignacio Fredes and Horacio Calquin. 329 points for them, just 3 points ahead of Radicals Online, Jesse Stevens, Jason Hodgson driving for them. Full Send Racing sitting in P number 3, Mac Miller and Stephen Ash, 6 points behind the lead. That is 6 points separating top 3 in the team's championship. GDR Ventus Rennsport SET sitting in fourth, and Punto CL Racing Red have regained a place in the top 5. Anna.
Yeah, and that's very, very, very tight championship. So that championship will almost for sure be coming down to the wire at Road Atlanta 1 week from today. So far in qualifying, we're looking at Stevens. He's up front there. Pfeiffer, he's having a good run here so far in qualifying. So far up into second. Still haven't seen Modov put down a time that I think he's capable of. He should be able to shave off another half second of what he has here. But still looking at a pretty competitive qualifying with Pfeiffer only 0.08 of a second behind Stevens.
Indeed so, and Rodrigo Mies sitting in P number 3 as well, but Pfeiffer is a real surprise for me here. Stevens now improves and is now once again 3/10 ahead. We saw a little bit of this in Mid-Ohio as well, with Stevens looking vulnerable until he put in a very, very good lap time and was pretty much in the clear. Now Rubilar just went into the second place. Once you look back, it's Stevens, Rubilar, Pfeiffer, Mies, and Eisler, and you're noticing a trend here. Carl Modov, once again, a little bit off the pace, so that's been something that's happening to him later on in the season. I wonder if it's the car or if it is the driver, if he has mentally already lost the championship.
Which for me would mean I'd want to go out and try to win a race here or two, and so we'll see what Modov has, but definitely lacking on the speed here so far in qualifying. Looking at Loenig, now switch over to Kenny Rodriguez. Kenny's coming across the line, able to shave off a few hundredths off his best time. That's just going to move him up into 15th position. By the way, small field here today. We've got 16 cars out there, expecting it to still be pretty exciting because you still have a lot of the fast guys out there here today as well. As we look at Carl Modov, he's going to come across here the last corner. That's a very long sweeper that you got to ride that inside concrete wall. There's a little bit more speed. He knocks off about a 10th there and moves him up, I believe, 1 spot to 6th position. Hey, now, Ossian, talking about the track and Sonoma and everything else, as far as passing zones, where are you going to be looking at to be trying to make a move? I know there are not very many here, but where are you going to be eyeballing?
Double crossover after the end of the first section. Then you're gonna look up after turn 6 into that back straight, and then a tight braking zone, as well as into the last hairpin. It's difficult to follow through the SS, but if you can make it work, then those are the 3 passing zones here. You can actually get a pass done, especially by being a little bit sly and not shooting for the first opportunity. Don't late brake here. You want to cross over instead, and you want to get that good exit. That's the key for passing at Sonoma.
Going slow is going fast at Sonoma Raceway. That's going to be kind of the mode of the day, and I've seen that plenty of times here before, as Ossie was pointing out. You got to hit that crossover. You got to be able to try to put the hammer down and get the grip, and that's going to be another part here. Just a lot like Mid-Ohio last week. Mechanical grip is going to be a big deal here today, isn't it?
Yep, it is, and that's where the Porsche should be strong, what Carl Modov's driving. And he's improved to 125.5 just as I'm looking at him. And look at the gap between P2 and P number 4. It's 12 milliseconds between Nicolas Rubilar, Christopher Pfeffer, and Karl Modov in those positions. It's unbelievably tight. By the way, just for you folks watching, this is a 1 hour race. It's a 60-minute event with open setups, and we are expecting one pit stop here as well. Incident limit set at 13 for a drive-through and 20 for a disqualification. And there is something I want to talk about also, Adam, and that is the orange zone. Now, orange zone is something the PRL, Precision Racing League, uses to mitigate and to try and prevent first lap incidents from happening too much. And today, here at Sonoma, it runs all the way from the main straight to the end of turn 4. So all the way through the first SS and that first short straight. And that is where the stewards are gonna keep an extra close eye on any possible incidents. So I think that's a great invention, and I hope it's able to hold back on the first lap aggression.
Yeah, I've seen a few series implement that here over the years. Every series that has done something similar, it's worked out pretty well. So if you're out there, you're just getting the series started up, especially road series, it's one of those ideas that I think could benefit you as well. While we were talking, Karl Modov just moved up to second place. So he is he's starting to show that speed that I was thinking that he had watching him in practice.
Yeah, I was just about to say, he is back. I think he was listening to the broadcast, and I think he was like, this old dog still can learn a new trick or two.
After that, he saw there was about 3 minutes left in qualifying. It was like, well, okay, stop trying to playing around. Maybe he has a flair for the dramatic. Another guy that's Michael Ross didn't set as quick of a time last time. It looked like he was just a few tenths off what he set as far as his fastest lap. He'll still sit in 5th. Christopher Pfeffer, at one point, he was second on the leaderboard. Now has slipped down to 4th position. He's rounding the chicane here. It doesn't look like this must be an outlap or something for him, because surely it was not a 45-second lap right there. As I believe he is now starting his last, what is probably going to be his last hot lap of the day, although he will get it across the line with enough time to hit 2 if he chooses. Here's Karl Modov heading toward the chicane. Just looking at that time, he's not going to set a new time, fastest time here this time. Maybe he's trying to set himself up for a real quick lap here this next time by using every little bit of that racetrack. That's what you got to do right there, Austin. You really have to use every little bit coming right out to that concrete wall.
Yep, and the way he took that last corner, it was crystal clear. Okay, he was cooling down his tires for 1 lap, and then this time he's gonna go, and it's gonna be his last gasp. And he's trying so very hard on the SS, cutting nicely into turn 4, coming into turn number 5, using every single inch. I wonder if it's gonna be enough, but it looks quite good so far. So good into these fast corners. That's where the Porsche usually has trouble, in these fast corners. And then he's gonna be hoping that he gets a good exit out of the turn 7 complex, so he can line himself up nicely for the SS. But here you just have to be on the correct line all the time. That's the key at Sonoma. You have to be on a correct line, and finding that correct line is not so easy when you got so many blind corners, you got so many crests, and you got just so many complexes where you can't see out of, and you're just kind of like pointing the car in the right direction and hoping the track is still there.
Get an idea of what we were talking about just a few minutes ago with the Porsche possibly being the best as far as mechanical grip is concerned. Modov looking very, very, very stable through the S's. He's got a good lap going here.
He has. I wonder if it's gonna be enough though. He's got 125.2 to beat. Oh no, it's not gonna be enough.
It's a little bit off. That 10th here could just be a simple breathe of the throttle. Now Jesse Stevens of that Ford GT looking like he might have a good time as well. I don't think it's going to be his best time though, but I've been wrong before. Let's see what he comes here coming across the line. Yeah, about 10th and a half off there, so about 1500ths off. Still very, very quick. I think Stevens and Modov are definitely showing what they're capable of here today.
They so very much are. They so very much are, and it's gonna be a last gasp for the championship for Karl Modov. He needs a win, and he needs to win badly, and he needs something to happen to Jesse. Now we always talk about, oh, drivers are not hoping for something to happen to their fellow drivers, and it's true. You want to win it fair and square, but hey, Cars had his share of bad luck, so it's kind of like hoping now. Okay, he needs a miracle pretty much to keep the fight going into Road Atlanta. And that's what he needs from Sonoma. So he is kind of like hoping that, okay, I couldn't beat him in qualifying. Maybe I can beat him in a race. And maybe there can be someone else who can beat him as well.
Kyle Streikar's coming across the line there. They didn't fail to set one up best time of his. Here comes Modov again. Actually, he's coming down pit lane right there, it looks like. So he gave up on his. Corallo gave it up on his lap. Kind of gives you an idea right there how tough that entry is to pit road if you want to take it fast. Here's Rubelar. Looking at his time compared to others, though, I don't feel like this is going to be a fast lap for him. I feel like he's going to be just a touch off. Oh, actually, okay. So thank you, Nicholas, for proving me wrong there. Get you into third spot.
Yeah, that was so close to Modov. And that means we have 3 manufacturers in the top 3. We got a Ford, we got a Porsche, and we got a BMW.
And of course, Pfeffer, I believe he's driving a Ford. So, that's good. 2 Fords in the top 4. I'm okay with that. Already showing the Ford love right there. Hey, let's go ahead and take a look at the grid. Jesse Stevens coming out in the pole here today. Another, I believe that is a bonus point in this series. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that. Karl Modov getting in second. Nicholas Rubelar and Christopher Pfeffer is going to be making up row 2, row 3. Michael Ross and Horatio Calquin. Row 4 is going to go Christian Eisler. Rodrigo is starting alongside him. Ignacio Fredez starting in row 5 alongside him. It'll be Stefan Esch.
Ted Lowendick starting 11th in row number 6 with Jean-Marc Tremblay alongside him, Sean Romick 13th, Kyle Streikart's 14th, then it's Kenny Rodriguez and Jeff Carollo rounding out your 16-car field. But don't get terrified now, because we always say it's quality over quantity, Adam.
Definitely is, and I'm expecting a very tough fight at the front. You got most of your front leaders that are only about a couple of tenths of a second off in the grand scheme of things. And really in the grand scheme of things here, Ossian, your 1st through 14th are only separated by, looks like 2 seconds overall, with going back to 1st through 8th, it looks like only separated by a second. So it could still be a very competitive race. Don't let the small size fool you, and especially up front, because you still have that championship on the line.
Have you been practicing that line? Oh, it can still work. Don't let the small size fool you. Okay, let's go to the race. Fine. We got a full pace lap today out, by the way, so we have plenty of time to talk about the drivers.
Plenty of time for me to think of a comeback on that one.
That's true, too. 6 tenths separating the top 8, and a lot of experienced folks out there as well. Now, Jesse Stevens, Karl Modov, the only 2 who have actually won a race this season. Stephen Ash, surprisingly far away, only in 10th place. If it's not Stevens or Modov, who do you think has the best chance?
I'm going to go with Pfeffer. Pfeffer's due. He's had some good runs in the past. He's got to be a little bit more consistent, though. Rubelar, I will be 100% honest with you. I have not seen much of Nicholas Rubelar to give you a very educated opinion on Rubelar. So I'm going to go with Pfeffer if for something happens and all that. So there we go. So that's the thing, of course, is that it's been the tale of 2 seasons. We touched on it earlier in the show with Modov winning most of the first couple of races. But in those first couple of races, Jesse Stevens was able to sneak one out. And then everything flipped on its head. Jesse Stevens took over. And now maybe today could be the one that Modov sneaks one in the back end of the season. So we'll have to see how things play out. But you got today and you got Road Atlanta next week to sort this out. assuming that Modoff is able to stay in the hunt here this afternoon. We do have that full pace lap as Aussie was bringing up, so we've still got a little bit here before we set these 16 machines screaming into turn 1. Aussie, at first lap predictions.
I don't think we're gonna see many incidents on the first lap. Not only because it's a 16-car field, but I think these drivers have learned from orange zone and such that do not be aggressive on the first lap. And I also think that Jesse Stevens is gonna lead away after first lap. I mean, that's not such a hot prediction. Rolling start, he can decide when to go. And one more prediction, I think Rodrigo Mies is gonna be inside the top 5 after the end of 3 laps.
Okay, so that might be a bold prediction there with Rodrigo.
I needed
Mies,
one.
top 5. Sorry, say that again?
I needed one bold prediction. I mean, rest of it was just obvious.
That works. I like it though. We'll still work with it as forming up side by side here, heading toward the S's in just a moment. And this is going to be where I think if these guys are still side by side going through here, where it might get a little bit more on the exciting part, particularly in the first lap. But I have a feeling they're going to be sorted before then, and hopefully maybe more single file. This is the part here what could get interesting in the first few laps when everybody's still close together, is heading toward this very, very tight right-hander, the chicane, as we have seen many an incident at this part of the track in many different series over the years. All right, Jesse Stevens is on the loud pedal. He is away already. As soon as that pace car pulled off and gave him the okay to go, he went. So there you go. Everybody already getting, for the most part, single file by the time we get up here to turn 1, then turn 2. Modoff makes a mistake. He's going to slip back a few positions. We're going to slot Rubilar up into second, Pfeffer up into third. Now Modoff has a fight on his hands with Ross. Ross is going to give him back the spot. That's going to slot him back into 4th position. At Mid-Ohio last week, Aussie, and you were there. You saw he made a few mistakes. Got a little bit of contact back behind him. That was, looks like Cal Quinn.
Mies and Eisler.
That deal.
Yeah, Mies and Eisler. So Mies went past Eisler and took a little bit of a rallycross line there. Just passed him with a little bit of a touch and took one of those 3 positions he's needing, and he spins into the wall. There goes Mies. Okay, I was wrong.
It doesn't look like he has any damage, but I don't think your top 5 prediction's going to turn out there for you.
No, unless we have a Spa 98 in the next couple of laps.
All right, so your top 3, Stevens, Rubilar, Pfeffer. Modoff is looking up. If he can just get up there, he's got to use that draft now, be mistake-free. Tried to touch on it a little bit before we had those 2 incidents right there, but Modoff last week, he had several mistakes, didn't he, Austin?
Yeah, he had. For example, running out of fuel, which is kind of bad.
That be a mistake that will end your, at least end any chance you have at all as the race goes on, as he is being chased by Michael Ross. But up front, Rubilar is hanging with Jesse Stevens there. Looking at an incident here, looks like something might have happened to Jeff Corallo in the back of the pack. He found the tire barrier. Looks like he might be done for the day.
He's coming into the pit lane, outside of the screen. So he's coming into the pit lane. And meanwhile, I'm looking at P number 2. I'm looking at Rubilar. And he's not only staying with Jesse Stevens. I think he's sending a challenge. I think Rubilar is saying finally, okay, you beat me last week. You were able to run away from me. I don't know about this week. And they have enough of a gap to Pfeffer behind where he can challenge.
Right there.
Yeah, getting a good exit was Jesse Stevens, but that was really brave from Stevens too, because he was leaving the door wide open, and Rubilar was saying, I'm not gonna jump into that hole because I know it's a closing door. I know what you're doing. You're trying to get a wide exit. And the Ford GTE is faster in these sweeping S's, but once we come through to the first sector, second sector again, I think we're gonna see Rubilar catching up just a little bit.
And you will see those cones there that mark the entry into pit road. You'll see a lot of guys hit those here today. So there will be, we'll wish we could have a graphic called an orange cone tally for every time we see one of those get hit. That might be a little weird meaning. But Jesse Stevens squeaks that out just a little bit. But look right there, Christopher Pfeffer setting the fastest lap of the race here so far. And actually, I think I saw Modoff sliding again behind him, or was that Michael Ross? They actually think that was Michael Ross taking a shot at maybe trying to get the position to Modoff and almost slid off the track there momentarily. Everything's right now, though. He didn't lose position.
Yeah, that's very easy to do. And of course, while we watch these guys battling and Rubilar chasing Jesse Stevens, I have a trivia question for you, Adam. And I know it's only lap 3. I'm already moving on to the trivia questions. But do you know why Rubilar cannot make a late braking move on Jesse Stevens?
I do not.
Because the BMW has an anti-dive.
Ah, okay. We're looking at the replay right now of that opening lap, and seeing here where Modoff made that mistake, went a little bit wide, and you're going to bleed positions right there. Just a moment ago, by the way, Jean-Marc Tremblay just got involved in a incident. So that's a top 10 car having problems. We'll also take a look here at the next incident. I believe this is going to be the one here with Mies, and see him just kind of get squeezed out there. And I think his day went from bad to worse there in just a moment, as he's going to go ahead and get tipped and end up in the tires.
Yeah, Rodrigo Mies not lucky at all today. He was showing podium pace, potentially even race-winning pace earlier on in the season, then run into all sorts of trouble. Went into podium once again on the later portion of the season, but yeah, Rodrigo Mies being really unlucky. And also made a couple of mistakes early on, which have really cost him. But I hope he comes back next season and Road Atlanta even stronger, because he has a lot of potential. And the funny thing about Rodrigo Mies, well, the funny or the interesting thing, I should say, is that he drives the fastest Nissan Vida in Chile.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he races for real in Chile.
I did not know that.
Yeah, now you do. And the onboard shots are really interesting from that series.
I have to pull that up. Now we're looking at Cal Quinn, and saw his little half spin a little while ago. That dropped him back to 12th. I believe that's Tremblay behind him, who had a incident just a few minutes ago. And so that's kind of what's happened with some of those guys. You might notice in the back of the pack now, as Jesse Stevens up front is still having to hold off Nicholas Rubilar now.
P9.
Actually, go back to P9 here. Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead, Ossian.
Yeah, Carl Strykart, Sean Romig side by side in the last hairpin. Mies did a 2-foot magic save behind them, managed to hold the car, but Sean Romig really looking for those moves, and P9 would be great for him. Strykart's not gonna give it away easily, however, and these guys battling with 2 Porsches, and they got so much room in front of them. I think they are really at the separation point, where in this season we have separated between the top 10 guys and the mid-pack guys, and you can already see the gap that's formed ahead of them. So Strykart, Romig gonna be in this battle all race long. Mies trying to chase them, Cal Quinn trying to chase them, Kenny Rodriguez as well. So that was an interesting one for a couple of corners. I thought Romig was gonna go for it, but in the end he didn't manage to pull it off. However, I think we should stay on this just for the rest of this lap, because Romig has been really looking fast through this last sector of the course, as I get my English language in the proper order. Sir?
I know that could be problem sometimes. Problem for me sometimes, I should say. Is looking these two Strykars and Romig. This is pretty close, and we mentioned we'll stay here for just a moment. I do have my eye though on the leaders. I'll let you know if something happens up there, but this definitely seems like going back to and looking at Romig there, he has a better entry through the technical section there. And that is also Rodrigo Mies behind them, and you saw how much ground he gained very quickly on these two.
Indeed, so the Ford is fastest through the last sector, fastest through those S's, and it's really great at those high-speed corners, despite receiving a little bit of a balance of performance adjustment. I don't see that affecting the Ford very much. It is still quite planted, and you can see Rodrigo Mies Despite a little bit of damage, his splitter is not looking great at all. The rear end is a little bit bent up. Despite the damage, he's still catching up to those guys, and it's gonna be, I think it could be a very interesting three-way battle here, albeit a short one, because I think Mies is gonna pass them pretty soon, and then they're gonna be left by their twosome again. But for a moment, it could be a very interesting three-way battle.
Mies is just waiting at this point for one of those guys to slip up just a touch so he's able to stick. In fact, there he goes. Getting around, looks like that's Romig right there. And then Strykart's now in front of him as they go through the S's. And by the way, Jeff Corallo has officially retired for the day. So that is our first retiree. We have 15 cars on track.
Yep, first one out, and I think we're gonna see a couple of other ones as well. And you can see Romig moving to the inside to defend, then leaving the inside open, and Mies was like, okay, thanks, I'll take it. I'm not sure why you left it, but I'll take it. And I think Romig is realizing that, okay, there's no point keeping Rodrigo Mies back anymore. Just let him through. And when Mies starts to make a move on strike cards, is when Romig has his chance to strike. He can just sneak in behind Mies, and if strike cards goes really wide or if he makes a mistake, then Romig's gonna take a position as well. And it's a common strategy we've seen in this series as well, and seen a couple of other series when you have a fast driver chasing two less quick drivers, let's put it that way. Then the driver behind can actually make a little bit of a move on the guy he was battling with.
So now back up to the front here, we're watching Jesse Stevens, Nicholas Rubelar. Jesse Stevens has not been able to pull away from Rubelar too much. He did set the fastest lap of the race so far, but the lap before that, Nicholas Rubelar did. So that's kind of where they're at right now. They're just kind of bouncing around anywhere between about 4/10 and about 7/10 of a second between them, now down to about 5/10. So we'll be very interested to see here what Rubelar's lap time is. As now he's getting right up to the back end of Stevens as they go through that chicane. And now let's see what the lap time is. I have a feeling Rubelar's going to set the fastest lap of the race. Maybe not quite. I think they slowed each other up, so he's about 10th off of that one there. But you saw that last time, 3/10 of a second faster was Rubelar over Stevens. So still a very tight battle up front. I think one little mistake here from Stevens is going to be the deciding factor. Now, pit stops, we still have to worry about pit stops, and these cars do have, obviously, as we talked about, open setups, but they're limited to 65% fuel to force that stop, and that can always be a game changer.
It can indeed. Meanwhile, further back, Mies did make a move on strike cards, and Romig tried to make a move on strike cards as well, but didn't quite pull it off. So they're back to front, very close between each other. So we got a battle for P number 10, and we got a battle for P number 1 as well. But let's see that Romig in the inside, and he actually got it through. Yep, he got it through, and strike cards is forced back outside of your top 10 contention for now, but he's still coming close. To the outside goes Kyle Strykarts, to the inside Sean Romig defending into turn number 7. Let's see who's gonna pull it off. Oh, it's gonna be Sean Romig holding on to that 10th place for now. Very interesting.
But don't feel like that'll be for long, as Calquin is really got up to the back of them in a hurry as well. Going to try to follow, I think, Mies's path through that he just said just a few minutes ago. You could already see Mies how much he ran up there. So definitely he has a rocket ship, and if it hadn't been for that first slap incident right there, might have been doing pretty okay. But unfortunately, not to be at least at this point.
Yeah, of course. First lap, a bit of contact with your teammate, and then you spin out in the tire wall. Not a good race start for me, so he's got to put his head down and just concentrate on what he's doing now, as Calvin is starting to harass those two guys as well. Harass Strykarts first and harass Romig then right after. It's always when you get those fast guys right in the back of the pack, they're gonna work their way through, work their way past, and it's always an interesting spectacle to follow, to see exactly where they are faster, and it can be a learning experience also for these guys, for Strykarts, for Romig, to see that where exactly those guys are faster, what they're doing differently. Of course, they're racing a different car, but I mean, Motov's making it work, so, you know.
Yeah, and just looking at Calquin. Strykart's going to make a mistake. He's going to slide. He's going to have to give up that position. and also any chance he had of getting up to Romig, at least at this point of the race. But that gives Cal Quinn smooth sailing up to Romig. We're going to take a quick look at this before we need to jump back up front as watch strike cars start to slide on the entry to the S's here in just a moment. And it just seems like maybe the back end or something locked up there, and I think that a half spin, it got out of line.
Yeah, I know exactly what happened there right now.
Pressure from Cal Quinn?
He spun.
Okay, fair enough. Is now back up front looking at Jesse Stevens and Rubilar. Rubilar had a good run on Stevens going down the front straightaway just a minute ago. And once again, the last time by, Rubilar was 0.3 of a second faster than Stevens. So they continue to alternate who's faster on what lap, which has kept them this close together. This is actually turning out to be one of the more battles on the racetrack. Now, as these two are fighting, at least the eyeball test, and fair disclosure, eyeball test has failed me in the past, but I feel like Pfeffer is catching them a little bit at a time here. Granted, he's several seconds back. He's going to have to really work at it, but I think Pfeffer's catching him, and Modoff making an appearance on Pfeffer's rear bumper here. So that might be a battle to watch in the next few minutes.
Yep, another point to bring up, fastest lap, that gets points, bonus point 2, and right now Stevens is holding it, but Rubilar is right behind him, and the problem is, I think what Rubilar is doing here, he's catching up, then he realizes, okay, no way through, he's gonna lose a little bit of ground, driving so close behind, and then when he loses ground, he's gonna catch up once again because he's got room, and it's rinse and repeat. So Rubilar, he's sitting right behind, he also needs a way past. I do wonder though, how much fuel is Nicolas Rubilar saving? Because the more fuel you can save, the more you can extend your first stint, and you can shorten your pit stop just a little bit. So I wonder if he's thinking, I can stick behind Jesse Stevens for the duration of this first stint. I'm gonna get him on a pit stop and then I'm home free. But that's a very risky plan, Nick, because not only is it difficult to stay behind Stevens and his pace, we also know how well the Ford is off as this stint goes on.
There you go. There's a pretty good analysis of what we could expect. And I'll tell you one guy that's not saving fuel, that's going to be Carl Modoff, who is the fastest car in the top 4 that last time by. They get ready to complete another lap here, and we'll see what they're had in store from now as Rubilar right back to that rear bumper. He doesn't get the power down that I was hoping he would right there, but still close. He's still right there, almost within striking distance of your leader, Jesse Stevens, even if that lap was just a touch slower. And once again, Pfeffer and Stevens setting identical lap times, and Modoff not too far off those guys. I'm telling you, I really think if we get a lap comparison, maybe between Rubilar and Pfeffer, and see just how much it feels like Pfeffer's catching those front two at this point.
Yeah, Pfeffer was 5 milliseconds faster than Stevens as well last time by. Pfeffer did his didn't actually do his fastest lap of the race. That was on lap 6, but I think you're right. I think Pfeffer slowly but surely starting to catch up to those guys.
That one bad lap just a few laps ago and kind of lost a little bit of ground, but it seems like he's gaining it back. So if this keeps up like this and we go through the pit stop cycle, we could very well have a 4-car battle for the lead. I'm not going to discount that possibility. Modoff and Pfeffer really have to work here over the next few laps to really kind of catch up a little bit more. But it is within the realm of possibility and could happen, especially if Stevens and Rubilar start to go at each other. That's going to inevitably slow them both down. I think Pfeffer will be right there.
Yeah, oh, Rubilar, late brake, locked up. That was a mistake more than an overtaking attempt. He made a bit of a mistake, locked up his brakes, and I think Stevens was kind of like looking in his mirrors like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Don't put the pump in punto now, Nicolas, and thankfully he didn't. But that was very, very close, and that's what Carmodo and also Christopher Pfeffer need right now. They need Rubilar to start making moves on Stevens, not just be behind him, but make move on Stevens. Unfortunately for them, Rubilar is his own man driving his own race as Stevens goes a little bit wide, and once again he tries. But yeah, the point is, for Carmodo to catch up to this pack, for Pfeffer to catch up, they need them to battle. And also for the championship, Modov has a chance. If we get like a 4-car battle where anything can happen, that increases the chance of mistake for Stevens, and that increases the positions Stevens can lose if he makes a mistake.
I can tell you right now, it feels like Stevens feeling the pressure from Nicholas Rubelar, as we've seen just a few very slight mistakes. That late break, that slide off track, it just doesn't feel like Stevens is as smooth as he was, say, about 5 or 6 laps ago. So he's either feeling like he's starting to get closer to his pit stop, or he's starting to feel the pressure from Rubelar here. So that's going to be the story here over the next little bit. Another dive right there. He's really trying to get in there and try to get that power off as well. That's Rubelar.
Yeah,
look at here this next time by. It's a 26-1. Looking back at Rubelar, he was a full 10th faster than Stevens. Fastest guy in that pack again was Modov, with Pfeffer not far behind him. Modov is now almost within 3 seconds. We started talking about it, that gap was over 4 seconds.
Yep, and you can see Rubelar twice in a trot now, making a mistake in that last hairpin, braking a little bit too late, and I think that's the anti-dive kicking in. He's thinking of a late braking move, and the BMW is saying, no, you can't dive. No, I'm just kidding, he's just... as we move on in this race, he's getting more and more confident on the braking, but he can't quite get it stopped in time. And I think Stevens is also braking a little bit earlier in some of these places where he can, because I mean he's conserving his tire. He knows that he's in it for a long run. Rubelar's not going anywhere. He's gonna conserve his tire. He's very good at that, but they have to keep this tire running for 60 minutes. And not only that, but those guys don't have much time to actually pull off these tires as we move on to Horatio Calguin, who's now right behind Sean Romick for a battle, which is the 10th position.
Yeah, it took him a little while to get there, but he is now there. By the way, Carlos Strykars has lost a position, Jean-Marc Tremblay, so he continues to fall back as this battle goes on. When he was right up here in the mix of all this, I will say, it took Calquin a little longer than I thought it would to catch back up to Romick, and actually he loses a little ground through the S's right there.
Yep, it just goes to show that even though you're faster on paper, the race is not run on paper, it's run on tarmac, and it's run against other drivers. So even though you're faster all throughout the series, that doesn't mean you will just have an easy job of passing. And it doesn't mean that Sean Romick will just roll over and die. I think he wants his top 10 position really hard, so it might be a longer battle than Horatio Calguin wants or intends at this point in time.
Oh.
And Calguin going a little bit wide, yeah, and he goes into the sand, and that means we can move back for the lead, where there's been an interesting development. Stevens is still being hounded by Rubelar, but Pfeffer lost half a second last time by, and Modov lost 3/10 to the leaders as well, so Modov has caught up a little to Pfeffer, while the leading duo is nose to tail.
Yes, those gaps widened just a little bit, not significantly so, but still enough that, you know, they...
And Rubelar, indeed, well, they have widened the gap, so Rubelar can rest a little bit easier at this point in time. Looking in his mirrors, he doesn't see Pfeffer catching up all the time, not getting bigger constantly. But once again, Pfeffer able to come back 1/10 of a second faster than Rubelar, 1/10 slower than Jesse Stevens, though, who just went with a 1:25.8 as we move on halfway through the race, and Rubelar making a little bit of a slide. A tiny mistake exiting turn number 3, I believe that was, and getting a little bit sideways, and that means the tires are wearing at this point. Of course, it is not as hot as it could be here, just 24 degrees Celsius, 20 degrees track temp, that is hovering around 70-75 degrees Fahrenheit at this point in California, but still the tires are going to wear out, and wear out they shall. I talked earlier on about the tire wear and how much that affects these drivers, because especially through the SS, you don't have much room for the tires to cool off. That means they're gonna stay hot all the way from turn number 7 into the main straight, and even on the main straight you're turning a little bit, so that's a bit of a problem for these guys.
We've got Stephen Ash up there. Now, 16-car field, you're not going to have some huge movers. So our biggest mover so far here today is up 3 spots from where he started. That's Stephen Ash. We haven't really had much of a chance to talk about him here too much for today. Very quiet run for him, even if he is back in 7th position.
Yeah, he's been fairly quiet, and as Stevens is improving his pace, he's gonna really look to run away. But yeah, Stephen Ash, moving back to the topic here, he's been fairly quiet, 10th in qualifying, 7th in the race, was able to gain a couple of positions thanks mainly to other people making mistakes in front of him. But the full send racing driver, he is doing well for himself so far. Unfortunately for him, he is not quite as close to the front as he would want, because he was the guy who was consistently the bridesmaid to Jesse Stevens and to Karmodov as well. He was pretty much in the 3rd place, in the 4th place early on in the season. Now he's dropping back, but I hope his long-term consistency and his decent pace is gonna pay off here. He is 3 seconds behind Eisler and not looking like he's gonna challenge anytime soon, even if he was 2/10 faster last time by.
Looking at Pfeffer and Modoff, that battle continues. They really can't separate from one another. One guy, though, that has started to separate, I don't know if he's listening to the broadcast or if he finally decided to kick on the afterburners, Jesse Stevens. That last time by was a 25.6. It was only about 200ths off his fastest lap of the race so far. This lap here might be just as quick from him. Could it be a new fast? No, it's about 25.7, but still really quick. And look at what Modoff and Pfeffer are able to do back there. Yeah, they are bleeding the ground now after working their way up there. At one point, Pfeffer being almost 2 seconds to the lead, Modoff being 3 seconds. They have now fallen down quite a ways compared to where they were a little while ago. So that battle is separating themselves out as far as your front two. Now 3rd and 4th, though, Pfeffer and Modoff continuing on.
What is really impressing me about Jesse Stevens is when we talked earlier on about the tale of 2 seasons, and it has indeed been so. Well, Jesse Stevens, earlier on, he was this hot-headed, fiery driver, trying his best to challenge Karmodov in each and every race, making mistakes, getting a bit aggressive in battles, losing ground. Now he's exactly what Karmodov was earlier on in this season. He was so consistent, so steady in early part of this race. Couple of tiny mistakes here and there, but other than that, it seemed like he was just biding his time, saving his tires, trying to be a little bit conservative. And then when he smelled a weakness in Rubilar, when he saw Rubilar getting smaller in his mirrors, not being able to follow so easily, he was like, okay, I'm just gonna turn it up a little and I'm gonna drop ya. And that effect on Rubilar is so devastating. You ever been like in a running race or in a, well, not probably in a skiing competition, but in a running race where you are running right behind another guy, you're trying to catch him up, and then you see his back getting smaller and smaller, he's starting to get away, you start to feel a little bit tired, and then he's just getting away further and further when he smells the weakness in you. And that's exactly what's happening with Jesse Stevens and Nicolas Rubilar right now. Rubilar last time by another 1.5 tenths lost. He is at his last gasp, but when that gap goes from pretty much battle distance to 1.7 seconds, that's gonna have a devastating mental effect on you.
Let's see it play out, especially here over the course of the next couple of minutes, if he continues to fall or if he's able to kind of get his wits about him and be able to overcome that. But he runs wide right there, I think a little bit wider than what he was intending on, and might lose a little bit more ground to Stevens as they go through the S's. Classic Sonoma Sears Point shot right there, looking down the S's as you had all 4 cars there within sight meandering their way through there. Dougie Beard cameras, folks. Those are some of the best in the business, as he's been ours for a long time and setting up cameras for GSRC as I watch more cones get assassinated there at the entry to pit road.
And you know, Adam, when it's Sean Ambrose and Joe Peak, Sean doing the directing and it's Joe Peak on lead, maybe someone like me in the color, and Dougie Beard. It's Dougie, who is named Beard, who is the only guy with a clean shaven face. And that's exactly like Ted Set Top, where you have 2 guys with huge beards, and then the drummer named Beard, I think it's Frank Beard, is the only guy who is clean shaven. Just saying.
I think about Chris Beard, our Texas Tech basketball coach, who has always been clean shaven for his entire career and has now used the virus epidemic to his advantage that he doesn't have to shave. So he hasn't shaved. He actually, for the first time ever, has a beard, and we all thought that was pretty funny. So that's something right there. Now watching these guys here, Rubelar, that last time by wasn't too bad, but now we got Sean Romeg here and Horatio Coquin. Horatio finally getting back, trying to overcome his mistake a little while ago to the back of Sean Romig. This is the battle on the racetrack right now. Let's see if he's able to try to make a move and finally complete that pass. I think he's already attempted here to get up to him about 2 or 3 times already.
Yeah, he's right behind, getting a good exit out of turn number 6. Not close enough to make a late braking. Well, never say never. I don't think he's close enough to make a late braking move here, and he isn't. Taking a tighter line, a better exit, and then he's gonna just have to wait through these SS where the Sport GTE would have the pace, but Cal Gwyn doesn't have the track position to utilize that pace. So, in some sense, he wants to get the pass down on the early portion of the track, and then use this sector to make up some gap, to make up some leeway before you head to the last hairpin. But here we go, Cal Gwyn getting closer and closer each and every lap. I wonder if he's finally, and I think this deserves a finally, able to get this move done, because he's been waiting for a long time, has Horatio.
Yeah, I definitely want to stay on this until we see if the pass is made. And I've seen it a few times where Cal Quinn's made an aggressive move here once he gets to the top of the hill. Let's see it this time. Can he do the over-under? I don't. Romig very smartly placed that Porsche and did not give Cal Quinn an opportunity to hit that over-under right there.
Yeah, and he's doing very well to just hold his line. Cal Quinn getting very close, getting almost touchy there, being like, come on man, move out of the way. And Romig is looking in his mirrors and then just opening his mouth and going, nope.
It's a race now. I don't have to give up my position in the top 10, willingly. I'm not going to do anything to mess up your race, but I'm not going to make it easy for you either. And I wouldn't either at that point. So.
Yeah, no, there is no point. Cal Gwyn getting a little bit sideways. He did a good job of keeping that under control, but once again he cracked under his own aggression. So he is his own worst enemy right now. And well, it's easier said than done, but what Cal Gwyn needs to do right here is take a deep breath, calm down, and just concentrate on his own race. Not bother stressing about whether he can catch up to Fredes or Mies or Ash or those guys. He won't be, unless they make a mistake. Now his battle is with Sean Romig. He needs to accept and understand the situation that a guy used to top 5s is now racing for a top 10. And when he accepts that, when he understands that, he knows how to play this to his advantage, so he can at least get Sean Romig and make the best out of what is a bad situation for him. Of course, in a racing driver's mind, as I said, easier said than done. In a racing driver's mind, he's fuming, probably with a bit of a red mist descending upon his face.
Well, let's go back a little bit. And I know it's far back in the field, I mean, relatively, with a 16-car field, but 13th, 14th position with Kyle Strykars here. And Ted Lowendale, he's like, we don't get to talk about Ted too much. And we got an opportunity here. He's been fighting with Kyle Strykars for the majority, I'd say, of the last 10 laps. These two have been going at it. And, looking at Ted, he hadn't really been able to make a move on Kyle. He's just been kind of back there, but still, these guys are having a fun, competitive run here this afternoon.
Yeah, and they're not too bad off pace-wise. I mean, now that Kyle's ahead of Ted, they're losing a bit of ground to Jean-Marc Tremblay. And Kyle Strykart's been really struggling, but yeah, Ted Lowendick, I feel like we should talk about him, because he did put a follow on me on Twitter. Thanks for that, Ted. So, feel a little bit obliged to talk about him as well. His teammates, as said, with Sean Romig, and they've been running very decently all throughout this season. Sometimes, especially Ted, has been surprising me a little. He's been further up than I was expecting. And I think he's on this position where if he puts a little bit more time in, and if he uses this experience he's gaining from this season and from the past seasons he's done, then I think he could be on a verge of breaking into that top 10 group. He's not there yet, but he just has to use this experience and use these things he's gaining all throughout the season. And the good thing about him is that we've seen so many drivers, not participate in the later portions of this season. They have nothing to gain, or they're focusing on next season or whatever's going on, maybe focusing on some other series. We've seen the field size dwindle. But Ted Lowendick, he's been there in every single round. And he's been a consistent force that's been here and been battling and been improving. And every time, no matter how slow you go, you're putting a lap on those who sit on the couch.
And that's something, to be able to stay with a series like that and continue to make yourself known. I mean, that's great for him, and been exciting to watch, that's for sure. At least here today too, as he continues to battle Kyle Streichars right there. I'll go back up toward the front, third and fourth, give you an update of what's going on there with Pfeffer and Modolf. Modolf is actually kind of fallen off just a little bit of Pfeffer's rear bumper, and not really seeing him gain a lot of ground, as Pfeffer's been able to stave him off.
Yeah, Pfeffer, I think, did what Jesse Stevens did to Rubilar. He was like saying, okay, that's enough of pressure. Back off. Come on, give me some breathing space here. Put a couple of good laps in, and I'm not seeing Modolf be too much faster at this point in time. Of course, we have to also remember the dirty air, the wake of these cars in those fast corners. Not as much as in an open wheeler, but it's still gonna affect you. It is still going to be something that's going to be affecting the tires of these guys, and that's going to make it really difficult to consistently stay behind another driver. So might be a combination of that and car mode of maybe using his tires a little bit more than he intended, as we head towards what is going to be soon the pit stop phase of this race.
Should be approaching here relatively soon, as we are now 25 minutes from the end of this. And as you know, if you follow along at all with any kind of racing here at Sonoma, that pit stop, that's one of those ones that a lot can happen. And so you're going to have to be on your toes, especially on pit entry if you want a fast pit entry. Because even with going back up to the leaders, that 2.5 second gap there between Stevens and Rubilar, that can disappear in a hurry if you don't get on pit road right and you don't hit your stop right. But in these GTE cars, the not getting on pit road part's probably a little bit more likely if something were to happen.
Yep, and Lowendick's now very close to Streichars, who made a little bit of a mistake. And you said about the difficult pit stop. It is indeed hard here at Sonoma. It's a very tight entry. You have to go all the way to the left, and then you have to time your braking just right and turn in nicely. And a lot of mistakes that can happen here on the pit road. Getting into hot, getting into cold, losing time, gaining time. A lot of things that can go on. So it's going to be a very exciting phase, and everybody's just going to, have to be at their best. And Karmodov, I think, is keeping an extra eye on his fuel gauge as Lowendick goes for a move but doesn't quite pull it off. Modov's gonna have to keep one extra eye on his fuel gauge all the time, so he doesn't do what he did at Mid-Ohio, because running out of fuel, I mean, that's an easy mental mishap to make, but that's also something that's gonna lose you a lot of ground, obviously.
Still watching. There's all right. So there we got the stops happening now. Let's try to see, that's Fredez, and seeing Streichars come down pit road.
Yeah.
And by the way, on the racetrack, Cal Quinn has now re-caught Sean Romeg here.
Take 3.
See if he can finally do something with him here before his pit stop. As the leaders go by pit entry again. So top 4 electing to stay out, so we can stay on this battle here for a moment.
Yep, and I wonder if Cal Quinn is finally gonna make it work on Sean Romig, or if he's now decided to just wait until the pit stops. Whatever it's going to be, he has time to work with, and he's got to realize that. And I hope he's also realized the fact that, hey, he's got 20 plus minutes to make this pass, because on pace he's not going to pass anyone else in this race. So, he's just going to focus on this and this alone. And I think it can be somewhat of a relieving feeling, knowing that you're battling just this one guy. Oh, and here comes Romik to the pit lane. Cal Gwyn going to go on for another lap. I wonder if he's going to, do the overcut here.
Yeah, we'll see. A lot depends on the next few seconds. It looks like Romik had a great entry coming down into the pits here and getting ready to roll into his box. As looks like Stephen Nash is coming out of his stall. 13-second pit stop there.
Yeah, it's not gonna take long to fill these cars up with fuel. You just need enough to pretty much get it back going. Something like 20-25 liters to get it back going, get back on the track. Steven's still gonna go on for another lap, as is Rubilar. Let's see what Pfeffer does here. Is he gonna come into the pit lane? No, he's not. Carmodo, however, he is.
All right, so first of the top 5 to make their way down pit road. And it looks like Michael Ross, who we have not talked a lot about in 5th, is going to be coming down here as well.
Modov had an excellent pit stop. An excellent entry to the pit lane. Just a tap of the brakes right on the line and getting it under 72 km an hour. So, that's a well done for the first portion for Carmodov. What I'm really wondering is that I'm listening to Carr, for example, on the pit lane, and he's just pretty much like driving against the pit limiter. You can hear it going whoa, 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 whoa. And I wonder if these guys know that if you either smash your gears up and down, or if you run without the limiter, you can go 1, maybe 2 km an hour faster, and you can gain a couple of tenths.
Don't you be giving away my secrets here.
that's actually
secrets. I'm terrible at that.
Yeah, that gains you 1.5 seconds down the pit lane at Spa. If you the long endurance pit lane, you know the one. If you just don't use the pit limiter, and you can also roll down the hill, just braking a little bit every now and then. So that's a free advice for you guys, courtesy of GSRC. Don't say we never give you tips.
Here comes Stevens coming down. Rubilar is as well as Pfeffer. So top 3 all on pit road. And kind of like the Spa endurance pits, this one is kind of broken up by a turn as well. Not as dramatic as that is by any stretch of the imagination, but it does break up the boxes if we were to have a larger field, which we do not here today. So just one of those little tidbits about how pit road is structured here. Stevens hits his marks. Rubilar in his box, and now Pfeffer is stopped as well. So we'll see how these guys shape up. You got the pit stop comparison on your screen between Stevens and Modov. Oh, full second faster, at least how much time he spent in the stall. That's going to equate to about 8 tenths faster as far as what he was on pit lane. So Modov is not going to gain any appreciable time, but Rubilar is going to fall back into the clutches here of Pfeffer.
Whoa.
So did Rubilar have it looks like Rubilar had a slow stop. Maybe Pfeffer had a fast stop, at least kind of eyeballing things here.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
Pfeffer got done.
Yeah, Rubilar was a little bit conservative on the pit entry, and he had a slower stop. And Kyle Strikehardt is stopped on track.
Something happened to Kyle.
Yeah, he gets back going. He's stopped on track, and I think he's, I don't know if he's waiting for the leaders to come by. Must be a hardware issue or something, but he's back going again. So he just, and I was looking at it.
I'm listening to his intro, and it doesn't look like he was able to shift. It sounded like he was stuck in gear almost. But he's shifting now, so I think he's good to go now.
Okay. So, for all those people talking about, things cannot break in sim racing, blah, blah, blah. They can. It's just your hardware that usually breaks. I've been in a situation where my teammate had his wheel unplug itself. I'm saving the brand for shaming, but it was a Trustmaster. So at the Porsche corners in Le Mans, while we were second in class on the top split of Le Mans 24 hours, and Riku Alatalo had his wheel unplug, which wasn't even his wheel. It was a wheel that he borrowed from a friend. It unplugged, and it went, in iRacing, when the wheel unplugs, it turns 90 degrees left at Porsche corners with an HPD. So that was our race
yeah,
done.
you mean the car formerly known as an HPD at that point.
Yes, the car formerly known as an HPD, and you know, we had a sticker that's saying "We love Megan Fox" because it was Inertia Sim Racing, and Foxes are the thing because they have a Fox logo and so on. And you know, they just wisecracked that. Well, not even Megan Fox is gonna save you from that one. Anyway, back to the race, shall we?
Yeah, look at a Rubelar here. Well, I actually got Fredez now on your screen. Mies is trying to chase him down. Only 7/10 separate those two right there. That's a battle for 8th position. And looks like he's going to let Mies have it. So that was an easy one.
Yeah, our teammate Steven Ash, meanwhile, making mistake exiting turn number 6, going very wide, and Mies is gonna actually catch up to him almost as well. So the gap has come down. Fredes and Mies, as said, they are teammates. I think Fredes is knowing that Mies is a little bit faster at this point in time.
Looking at Stephen Ash here, watch him make his mistake. And yeah, it does not take much right there. The car gets real light. He's lucky he was able to get it back under control before he found the tires right there. So thankfully all he lost was a little bit of time and a little bit of pride, but he still has a car to try to finish this race out.
And probably a set of underwear as well. Because, when you hit... Yeah. Because when you hit that sand on the exit of turn number 6, you go just a little bit wide as he did. And then you hit that one tire on the sand, and you know what that does when the tire just spins freely, and then you just lose it. And with these cars, it's not easy to save at all. So he went back, forth, and he somehow kept it under control. And that was a great save from Steven Ash. A testament to his driving ability, but that's gonna put him now under pressure from Rodrigo Mies.
Well, back up toward the front, Jesse Stevens is running away. No surprise, as soon as he got some ground, he just kind of set sail. Rubelar is now in the position where he's the one having to be chased, and Pfeffer is doing the chasing, who in turn is also being chased by Modov. That last lap, Modov was the fastest of those three. Let's see what it is this time as we come across the line. 26.5 for Rubelar. Looks like 26.6 for Modov and Pfeffer. So that time by Rubelar wins the time contest. I have a feeling that with the way things went there a little while ago, Pfeffer seems to do better when he has somebody there that he is chasing as opposed to being chased. So the last 14 minutes of this race could be a little bit of fun here for Pfeffer.
Yeah, it could be, and Pfeffer is one of those guys, and many drivers are like that. When you see the guy ahead of him, you get that instinct of hunting them down. You want to pass them, and you know that mentally you have the advantage. You are the one pouring on the pressure, and they are the ones who have to defend. And you get something out of yourself, and you also can just kind of, see their driving lines, follow another guy around, and do things a little bit better than they are doing. Pfeffer is in a Ford GTE that is known to save those tires a little bit better. So the BMW of Rubelar, he's gonna have to run away at this point in time, and he's gonna have a hard last 15 minutes ahead of him with not only Pfeffer but Modov trying to chase him down as well.
Hard or fun, depending on how you look at it, is he does go there a little wide. That can be a tough corner to get right sometimes. You get the tires to the inside, concrete to the outside, and the monkey's in the middle. So you're the monkey, and that can get a little challenging for sure right there. Just looking at the lap times here, that was a 26.7 for Rubelar, 26.6 again for Pfeffer, and a 26.5 for Modov.
Yeah, and meanwhile up in front, Jesse Stevens 26.2. Okay, 26.3 if you're rounding up, really, but still going faster and consistently getting gap for those guys. Now 8 seconds ahead of Rubelar. So yeah, Stevens has run away, but Rubelar, Pfeffer, Modov. Who do you have if you were a betting man, Adam? Who would you bet on in this contest?
Right now, with the way things are creeping up, I'm going to say I'm sticking with Rubelar holding on to second.
That's interesting. I'm gonna say Pfeffer.
Okay.
Because even if I like mode of space, he's being very fast right now. I don't see him making a move because the Porsche isn't just it's good on those low corners. It has the mechanical grip, but I just think that Pfeffer at this point in time is gonna get the move on Rubilar, and then Modov and Pfeffer are going to battle a little bit on the last couple of laps as Pfeffer is running away just a tad. But we're gonna have to wait and see about these lap times. Rubilar 26.35. Pfeffer 26.32 and Karmodov 26.5.
Well, there you go. So it's a kind of yamma ya and pull and back and pull and push, or I can't even talk. See, I can't even get the English language right sometimes, Ossian.
I feel a
But I
bit
do
better
see-
about that.
Well, being from Texas, people say I don't speak the English language anyway sometimes. So there you go.
Oh, you're from Texas? No, I couldn't tell. I wonder if you wouldn't have taken that. If you wouldn't have mentioned that, I would have for sure thought you were from Surrey, England, or maybe somewhere around London Bridge.
Yeah,
Speaking that
I'm gonna
wins English
out
real nice.
that, but thank you. I think Romick here following with John Mark Tremblay right behind him. This will be another little battle here as you get toward the end of this thing as Horatio Calquin fully sets sail on Romig, and Tremblay trying to mount a little bit of a recovery drive. He gained a few spots on the first few laps, had some troubles of his own, and now has just been trying to claw back and gain whatever positions he can. And now it looks like the next one he wants is Romig's in 11th.
Yeah, he's been driving well. Tremblay has been kind of quiet all this race long, but he's been driving well. He had a good race at Mid-Ohio as well, so he was able to do pretty good there, and he's consistently improving as the season rolls along.
I got a car around toward the inside, trying to see who that is. Nice.
Oh no.
It looks like he grabbed a little of the sand, could not save the car. You can see it here. It's coming out of the S's, up on the curb. Just a little too much curb, a little too much surface. Almost saves it and just wobbles and takes it to where he knows the car won't get hurt, gets it righted and back on track. But he does lose that spot to his teammate. I believe that was Fredis that got around him during all of that. So that is one last spot right there.
Yeah, indeed, and he was chasing down hard. In fairness, he was chasing Stephen Nash hard, and I think he got just a little bit of air wake and got a little bit loose, going a little bit wide, and didn't manage to do what Stephen Nash did, which is to save that car. He got wiggly too, but he spun it around. Good job of keeping it out of the wall, though. That's the most important thing. Keep it out of the wall. And the second most important thing, keep it out of the way of anyone else. Lock your brakes when you spin, and then when it's safe, rejoin the track, which is exactly what Rodrigo Mies did here. So, it was a mistake, but it could have been so much worse.
Final few minutes of this race. Probably going to get in, I would guess, about 5 or 6 laps, maybe. We'll see what happens here as Jesse Stevens continues to... I don't want to use the word dominate because Rubilar put up just a great fight with him, hanging with him through the early part of this race. But he has definitely led flag to possibly flag here. Rubilar is still getting the better right now of Modov and Pfeffer. Although Pfeffer and Modov are both hanging kind of right there within shouting distance, but not too much closer than that, at least at this point, as now Rubilar and Pfeffer, that gap between them has now shifted to be almost a second.
Yeah, so I think it's calm before the storm, Maybe he's not been dominating Jesse Stevens, but he's been subjugating these guys, outshining these guys, prevailing against these guys, eclipsing over these guys, and so on and so forth. We can think of synonyms as much as we want. And we can think about the sliding scale between barely eking out the win and absolutely stomping on these guys. We can think about the proper term at the end of the race, but the real battle now is between P2, P3, and P number 4, where Rubilar, Pfeffer, and Modov are putting in some decent lap times, especially Modov, who last time by, he was dropping a little bit out of the picture, but suddenly here, 4/10 faster than the duo ahead of him, and Pfeffer is catching up to Rubilar every now and then, and Rubilar is starting to get a little bit hairy at turn number 6, and here comes Pfeffer, and Pfeffer's getting closer and closer. He's so close that if he can get these SS sorted out, he's within shouting distance into the last corner here. Oh, even closer maybe.
Yeah, all of a sudden, starting to see that really shape up. That happened very quickly, and just waiting on Pfeffer now, I think, to maybe try to make a move. I mean, he's going to be right underneath Rubilar's rear wing here. Slowest portion of the track, slowing down to about 40 miles an hour when you hit the apex, and that right before you get back on the throttle. And Rubilar got through there pretty well. I think he was able to stretch that out just a touch, but still, that was a slow lap for him. 27.2 compared to Pfeffer's 26.8. 26.8 also from Modov, and well, let's just say Stevens was faster again.
Yeah, let's just put it that way. Over half a second, in case anyone is wondering, Stevens is just running away with it. But the second place battle, it might get interesting because now we see the tires wearing out. We talked about tire wear earlier on, a couple of points, and now it's really starting to show. Rubilar, getting by this time. Yes, he lost it. And Pfeffer's getting through.
The car just started wiggling. I didn't see him grab grass or anything. Just got in the corner. But that's going to be second and third. God, I'm trying to see.
At the exit of the corner, I know what happened.
Ross is not going to catch him, but still 2 spots. I don't think he was inside enough to grab the dirt to the inside. No. Back end just started coming around.
Yeah, it was loading the rear tires a little bit too much. The weight shift was quick. And then at the exit of the corners, the tire just gave out. He ran out of grip. He was already loose earlier on, and the tires were so hot at that point that he just lost his grip. That's simply what happened to Nicolas Rubilar. It was a strange point, not an unusual point to make mistake, but now I think he's going to be nursing those tires home at this point in time. And that's such a shame for him, because he lost that position with just a couple of minutes to go, and you can see it here. He spun around and he did a good job of locking up his brakes and not moving on the way of anyone else.
That brings up an interesting question. If you're Karl Modov, knowing now, I think 4th position would have put him outside of a mathematical chance of having a shot at the championship next week. 2nd position might still be able to keep him in the hunt, should say Stevens have an internet problem and not be able to make the race or something like that. If you're Karl Modov, do you really push and try to get that extra position here at this point?
Yeah, maybe, but I think he needs to pull a Tonya Harding in order to win a championship right now.
What would the iRacing equivalent of that be? I am very interested on your take at that.
What would be the equivalent would be maybe, going and, disconnecting someone's internet. Maybe, filling someone's basement up with nuts and letting those squirrels have at it.
Sports, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe we shouldn't give any ideas here.
That would not happen here in this series, I will tell you that. There you go. So, yeah, Modov so far hadn't really been able to gain a terrible amount of ground. In fact, he actually lost a 1/10 of a second right there.
Yeah, and in case you don't know what the reference, because I just realized how old that reference is. Tonya Harding, look up the story. We won't go over the Tonya Harding story.
That might be easier at this point.
Basically, hired someone to broke a rival figure skater's kneecaps. So that's not the most sporting way to go about things. That's for sure. Modov doesn't seem to be catching up to Pfeffer.
Nah, he definitely isn't here. And although all it's going to take, as you just saw, is just one little mistake, and everything can kind of go awry.
Yeah. But I'm not
With
seeing like Pfeffer, making those, having such troubles with his tires. He's driving a Ford, and he's not having really those troubles with his tires, and not really struggling as much as we saw Rubilar struggling earlier on. So I'm not seeing any, giveaways or any clues that Pfeffer would have a similar fate awaiting him. Let's see the lap times here. We got a couple of minutes left. Pfeffer 126.9 and Modo 127 flat, so another tenth of a second, and the gap now 1.2 seconds.
Yeah, I think at this point it's going to take Pfeffer making a mistake as the clock is ticking. In fact, next time by for your leader, Jesse Stevens, should be getting the white flag. And to put an end to this race here at Sonoma Raceway, about a lap and a half here to go, and just I don't want to. I still don't want to say dominating, because it really looked like Rubilar had something for him early, and then the tires went away, and that's when Jesse Stevens just hit the afterburners and just went for it. I mean, he has just been on fire here.
Well, I have a perfect term for what Jesse Stevens' race has been so far. It's been commanding.
Good yeah, I like that. Commanding works. So, commanding performance. There we go, as Jesse Stevens gets the white flag one more time around here at Sonoma. Looking back to see if we're going to have any battles to the line here over the next lap or so, and I think the closest we might get is Fredes and Mies. We'll keep an eye on that. Romig and Tremblay is pretty well decided. I think Romig is going to get that spot, so we can focus on our leader, and then we got plenty of time to go back and take a look at those if anything does develop in the last few minutes. So Stevens going through the carousel now, the part that the Cup cars added. I think that was a year or two ago to rave reviews. Unfortunately, won't get to see that this year with the Cup race there being canceled due to the coronavirus. But PRL and the GTE cars making a great substitute out there, putting on a great show. Even with only 16 cars making the race today, it hasn't felt like 16 cars. They've kept the action going the entire way. But Jesse Stevens will be the one to get through the next couple of corners, heading toward the slowest point on the racetrack right now, where he's going to slow down to a measly 40 miles an hour, hard on the brakes one last time, hard on the gas one last time. Jesse Stevens is going to win for his, I believe this is our 5th win in a row, as they're going to go into the final race at Road Atlanta with the commanding lead in the championship. Going back just a little bit, Michael Ross and Eisler, looks like Eisler has been able to catch back up and actually get around Michael Ross here the last few minutes.
I'm gonna go ahead and see what happened to Michael Ross. No, he was just slowing down. I think he was so tight on fuel.
He's out of fuel.
Yep.
So Eisler's going to get the 5th position there to round out the top 5. Ross is probably going to lose a little bit more of that. Stephen Ash is probably going to catch him before they get to the start-finish line. We'll have to see. Ash is going to have to get onto the gas here. Oh, it looks like Ross is actually stepped out of the line. Gets him. So he gets the spot despite running out of gas. Fredes gets the 8th position. Oh, Mies is slow. Is he going to be able to coast across the line before Cal Quinn gets there?
Put on the starter engine. Come on, Miss. Come on, put on the starter engine. Here comes Cal Quinn. It's going to be so very close. Oh, Cal Quinn.
Wait, no, he's back on it. He let him have that position.
Oh, okay. Well, why didn't you just stop then?
Well, what I'm not doing here is Interesting teammate strategies there at the end of that race, but that doesn't affect Jesse Stevens coming away with this one. We'll be right back here on GSRC. Oh, very fun race at Sonoma Raceway as the PRL ran the penultimate round 9. One more race to go next week. But Jesse Stevens coming away with the 5th win in a row here today. Christopher Pfeffer, 14 seconds behind him. Carl Modoff in 3rd. There's your podium. Nicholas Rubelar having that sideways spin that took him out of contention for that podium. Eastler coming 5th. 6th is going to be Ross Ash. 7th, Fredes coming home at 8th. 9th is going to go to Horatio Calquin. Rodrigo Mies in 10th position. 11th is going to go to Sean Romeg. John Mark Tremblay coming home in 12th position, recovering from some of his earlier problems. Ted Lowendick will be in 13th. 14th, Kenny Rodriguez. 16th is Kyle Strikars. Jeff Corallo in 16th, the lone retiree for today. And we got Jesse Stevens with us here. Jesse, 5th win in a row. You've really dominated the back half of the season. You're almost going to be a lock for the championship. How does it feel, man?
Oh, that race felt really good, and it all feels really good that everything's starting to come together and peace out.
You got one more to go, and I think that's going to be all you got to do is show up, kind of deal to lock yourself in. But Road Atlanta, you're going to be able to go for the 6th win in a row there.
Yeah, Road Atlanta is my home track. It's also my favorite track on the sim. I've been practicing a little bit. It's going to be tricky because I think it's going to be another night race like Catalunya.
Oh, that'll be definitely interesting for sure. Well, hey, Jesse, we got to be a little quicker here for today. So want to say congratulations one more time, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. So with that, we will grab Christopher Pfeffer here, and Ossian's going to catch up with him.
Best race result for you this year, and a tight battle and at the end with Nicholas Rubilar and Karl Modov. How were you able to beat those guys and grab that 2nd place?
I just tried to do my best and not pay attention to Carl behind me, because Carl was pretty much within a second behind me the entire race. So I just did my best to not look at the mirror and just focus on the track ahead of me and just try to close the gap to Nicholas and save a little fuel as well to stop Carl from trying to undercut me.
That was a really good race from you. Does that give you also a confidence boost heading into Road Atlanta, knowing that you can put it on the podium and you can put the challenge to the likes of Karl Modov and Nick Rubilar?
Yeah, we haven't, as a team, we haven't really been that great this season in PRL, but we tried something a lot different. We put in a lot more effort for this race setup-wise and stuff, so we're going to do the same thing for Road Atlanta and try to do the best we can.
Yeah. Well, Chris, unfortunately, we have to be a little quick here on the interview, so if you got any final words, any greetings or thanks, then congratulations for the 2nd place.
Yeah, I just want to thank my team, RSR eSports, and our sponsors, the ButtKicker, Formula Hypersoft, Abruzzi, G Performance, and Rosso Sim Wheels. And of course, you guys for the awesome broadcast and PRL for the series. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chris. And now it's Adam Young, and he's gonna put a Formula One pit stop style outro for us. Adam, take it away.
We'll see. First of all, Carl Modoff up there in the ready for interview room. We're sorry, man. We got to get going quickly here for tonight. We're going to make it up to you next week. We want to thank the Simulation Motorsports, Affinity, Simpson.net. Check them out. ButtKicker, thebuttkicker.com. Great products. Check them out as well. Thanks to all the companies that help us out here on our broadcast. Also, thanks to June Lalonde for the wonderful music that you always hear. Ossie and Joe, Dougie, you guys are always working hard to put on this great show. Check out GSRC on all our social media platforms. You know where they're at. Next race, final race of the season, Road Atlanta, Tuesday, May 19th, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on GSRC again. And, of course, other races for upcoming series here as well on the calendar. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.